Hello and welcome to the Know and Do Better podcast. My name is Dr. Melanie Carminati. I am here to wish you all a very happy new year. Happy 2022. This podcast is going to be our New Year's podcast, and I'm wanting to just bring back what we talk about on this podcast because last year was a very busy, very prosperous year for our main business, Inspira Physical Therapy and Wellness. And I would like to reiterate now, after having had some time with the podcast and then some changes in the company, how we'll be doing the podcast moving forward. I plan now for this year, for the time being, to do one podcast a month, as some of these podcasts will be with myself on different topics, and then some will feature guests. As the introductory podcast had mentioned, we feature guests of different specialties in medicine, health, wellness, physical therapy, things of that nature. And I have had wonderful interviews that you can listen to for the podcast. The discussions that we had were very rich and vigorous with a lot of helpful information. And so we will be continuing some of that, but this year I'm definitely going to be doing some more solo podcasting. Without further ado, I'd like to start off with just by updating everyone who listens to our podcast about what has been happening at Inspira. So we now have our main and only office in Park Slope. So we opened this office on 5th Avenue in between Union and President Street in Park Slope, and it's a beautiful boutique style office. And we have all been so happy to be there. I've been so happy to be there. It has a very lovely energy. So if you haven't visited us, and if you are in the New York City area, please stop by, say hello, check it out. We've grown. We have been offering in-person Pilates and yoga private lessons. I've been continuing to offer the physical therapy as well as a few other colleagues on our team. So that's been super exciting and time-consuming for us this past year in 2021. So with 2022 here, what I wanted to speak just a few minutes on self-care. Making time for yourself. Each day having some kind of time set aside for your own well-being and your own self-love. So with 2022 here and the new year here, many people have different intentions, and this is a big time for self-reflection. I highly encourage self-reflection for your overall wellness, so you can just look back and see what happened in the past year, and then moving forward. If you've been listening to any of the podcasts, you're definitely the type to want to grow yourself and expand your own capabilities, your own knowledge, and just bettering yourself. That's the whole idea of this podcast, know and do better. So one of the ways that you can know and do better is by taking time for yourself, self-care. So many of the upcoming podcasts that we will be posting this year and releasing this year will be focused on different wellness, health and wellness topics geared toward bettering yourself and just providing yourself more information. Making sure that self-care is part of your schedule is number one. Some ways that you can exercise self-care are by having proper sleep hygiene. What time are you going to sleep? Are you giving your body enough hours of sleep? Everyone's body is different. Some people need more hours of sleep. Some people don't need quite as much. So making sure that you are getting the adequate amount of sleep hours, being sure to unplug from any sort of smart device, iPhones, smartphones, laptops, television, iPads, you name it, watches even. Just giving your mind and body a chance to disconnect from the external stimuli. There's a lot of stimulation out there, especially if you're in the New York City area. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of lights, and it's beautiful. But for your wellness, being able to disconnect from that will help with your sleep. Also making sure that your sleeping space is a clean space, making sure that the sound and light is controlled for a healthy circadian rhythm. If you follow our business Instagram at Inspira Physical Therapy, we have posted about sleep and sleep hygiene before. So those are some tips, but also some other ways for self-care are moving. You want to have some kind of movement activity. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be training for a marathon. You could just have a movement method in your life, such as Pilates and yoga, which are wonderful movement methods that connect you to your mind first. In order to properly execute Pilates and yoga movements, you have to be very present, utilizing your breath. One of the ways to be in the present is to be connected to your breath. So that leads me directly into another method of self-care, which is having a meditation routine. So meditation isn't always sitting in silence. There's many ways to be mindful and practice meditation. You could make washing the dishes a meditation. Singing can be a meditation. Painting can be a meditation. But if you are a beginner and you want to experience the basic foundation and principles of meditation, it is best to do it sitting in silence, counting your breath. Pranayama is utilized in yoga and meditation, where you are focusing on the breath and devoting your sole attention to the breath. I'm sure most people have been aware of the different apps that are out there, but there's so many apps for meditation nowadays. Those are guided meditations. But I also encourage you to find local meditation, yoga and meditation studios that have virtual offerings. They have in-person offerings depending on what city you live in, so that's something else. Journaling is something I highly recommend as well. It can happen before or after meditation. Sometimes those are the best times, is once you've really connected to that rooted sense of self and rooted awareness, because that's really right, all we are is just awareness, that you can journal and then get whatever else is off your mind on paper. That helps with just processing and allows you a chance just to see patterns and see thought patterns, see action patterns, and then reflect and make a decision as to how you want to move forward from there. So those are some tips for self-care. One important tip as well, especially now during a pandemic, we've all experienced this to some degree, is to connect with loved ones, connect with friends and family, people in your local community, because togetherness is necessary for our well-being as well. Loneliness is a challenging experience, and feeling lonely is an emotion that is hard for many people to allow themselves to feel, but it is healthy and important that you are doing something if you are feeling lonely by connecting with people. Connection and human connection is a part of your self-care as well. If you are having trouble with emotions and or even thoughts of self-harm and things like that, if the emotions are challenging, please see a therapist. If you are having thoughts of self-harm, it is a suicide prevention hotline. You want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself from a mental health perspective as well. So all of these self-care tips that we mentioned will help with overall wellness and mental health and clarity. But of course, if there are other mental health conditions such as depression or severe anxiety or other things that we just mentioned, you want to be seeing a licensed professional. We need to utilize mental health professionals in conjunction with the other aforementioned wellness and self-care techniques that we mentioned. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for this podcast. I chatted about different self-care techniques and the importance of seeing a mental health care professional if you are, having any thoughts that are challenging and really affecting your day-to-day life. Please take this bit of information with you moving forward at the start of this new year. I look forward to giving you some more information for health and wellness in the start of this year. Please stay well and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day or evening.